You spent years trying to become someone successful, someone interesting, someone people respect. So you collect things that prove who you are. A career, achievements, opinions, a certain way of dressing, speaking and living. And without realizing it, your life can slowly become a performance, because once you've decided who you're supposed to be, you have to keep proving it. The smart person can't look stupid. The successful person can't fall behind. The strong person can't admit they're struggling, and eventually something strange happens. You stop asking what do I actually want and start asking what would someone like me to do. Maybe that's why trying so hard to become someone can be so exhausting, because the identity you're building to feel free can quietly become the thing that traps you. And in this video, I want to understand why we feel this desperate need to be someone, and what happens when we finally stop trying. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides to build an identity. It happens slowly and it starts early. When you're young, people hand you words for who you are. You're the quiet one, you're the smart one, you're the strong one, you're the funny one. At first, these words feel like gift. They tell you where you fit. And fitting somewhere feels safe, so you lean into the word that gets the best reaction. You practice it, you get good at it, people notice and they say it again. And somewhere in there, a label turns into a job. The quiet kid learns not to interrupt. The smart kid learns not to ask a basic question. The strong kid learns not to look worried in front of anyone. None of this is a mistake. It works, and that's exactly the problem. Being someone gets you attention, it gets you trust. It gets you a seat at the table, so you keep doing it, not because you're fake, because it worked. Then you start collecting proof, because a story about who you are needs evidence. So you gather it, a job title, a degree, a salary, a taste in music, a set of opinions you say out loud so people know where you stand, a way of dressing that says something before you speak. And here's the strange part, nothing on that list is bad, every single piece of it is real. You earned it, you worked for it. But the story needs to stay consistent, and a collection has to be protected. So without ever agreeing to it, you take on a second job, not living your life, guarding the version of it you've already shown people. And at some point, the collection starts giving you instruction. The small ones, the quiet ones. You'd never call them rules, but you follow them every single day. You nod along to a book you never read. You never ask a question in a meeting because it might sound basic and stupid. You say I'm fine before you check whether you are. You don't start a hobby because being bad at it where people can see feels worse than not trying. You keep the opinion you announced 2 years ago even though you stopped believing in it. Look at what all of those have in common. They are not about the world, none of them are about what's true or useful or good for you. They are about the picture. You're not choosing what you want, you're choosing what fits. About 80 years ago, a French philosopher sat in a cafe and noticed the exact same thing happening in front of him. He was watching a waiter. The waiter was excellent. His movements were a little too precise. He leaned in a little too eagerly. He balanced the tray like he was being filmed. Every step said, this is a waiter and he's very good at it. And Jean-Paul Sartre noticed something. The man wasn't being a waiter, he was playing one. Sartre had a name for this, he called it bad faith. And it means something simple. It means pretending you don't have a choice. Because the waiter can put the tray down. He can walk out in the middle of his shift. He never will, but he can. And forgetting that he can is what turns his role into a cage. Now take away the cafe and look at your own week. You're not lying either. You're just playing your part so well and for so long that you forgot it was a part. And here's what makes this so hard to stop. Changing your mind in public costs something. Once you tell people who you are, you owe them a matching future. You said you were ambitious, so slowing down feels like failing. You said you were tough, so asking for help feels like breaking. You spent years training for a career, and when you finally don't feel like you wanna be there, it feels like you wasted your years. We're built to like consistency. We trust people who stay the same, so we stay the same even when staying costs more than changing. And the question quietly flips. It stops being, is this still right for me, and becomes, what will people think if I stop? That's how someone keeps paying for years to protect a version of themselves they don't even like anymore. Not because they're weak, because backing out in front of an audience feels like losing something. There's a kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. It's not from working too much, it's from living every moment twice. Once as the thing that's happening and once as the person watching how it looks. Half of you is at dinner, the other half is checking whether you seem interesting at dinner. Half of you is doing the work, the other half is writing the caption. Playing a part for an hour is easy, playing it for 10 years is not. And the real cost isn't the effort, it's that the costume never comes off. So you never actually get to find out what's underneath it. So let's ask the question sitting under all of this. Who are you protecting? Try to find yourself for a second. Not your name, not your job, not your story, the actual you underneath all of it. Go looking and here's what you find. A thought, a feeling, a memory, a plan. Something happening, but no owner sitting behind it. A philosopher named David Hume tried exactly this hundreds of years ago. He said that every time he went looking for himself, he only ever caught something in motion. Warmth, light, pain, a thought passing through. Never a self, sitting still, holding all of it. Your body replaces itself. Your opinions have changed more times than you can count. The person you were at 15 would barely recognize your Tuesday. You're not a statue, you're a river with a name on it. Which sounds like bad news. It isn't. Statues can only be damaged. Rivers can only move. Here's where most people get nervous. If there's no fixed you, then what's left? Doesn't dropping the performance mean becoming nobody? No. And this is the part that gets misunderstood the most. Letting go of the performance doesn't delete anything real. The doctor who stops needing to be a doctor is still a doctor. She just stops being afraid to say, I don't know. And she gets better because of it. The strong friend who stops needing to look strong doesn't get weak. He just stops carrying it alone. You don't lose yourself, you lose the guard standing in front of you. So what happens when you stop trying to be someone? Curiosity comes back first. You're allowed to be a beginner again. You can pick up the guitar, the language, the sport, and be allowed to be bad again. Then your opinions get lighter. You can change your mind without it feeling like a defeat. You can hear a better argument and just accept it. Then other people get easier. Their good news stop being a scoreboard. And the biggest one, your choices get simple again. The question goes back to what it was before all of this started. Not what would someone like me to do, just what do I actually want? What would you do tomorrow if no one would ever find out? Not a fantasy, not money falling from the sky, just a normal day, exactly like the ones you already have. But nobody sees it, no one to tell, no one to impress, no one to compare it to. Most people go blank for a second, not because there's nothing there, but because so much of a normal day is quietly pointed at an audience. And whatever is left when that audience disappears, that's the part that was actually yours the whole time. You spent years trying to become someone, it made sense, it was never vanity, it was how you tried to feel safe and useful and worth something. But maybe the freedom was never waiting at the end of that project. Maybe it was in noticing that you're allowed to put it down. You don't have to be someone, you just have to be here doing the next honest thing. And that's much lighter to carry.